So turning our attention now to teaching and learning, does this impact teaching and learning? And I think it's obviously yes, but I think there's a couple of interesting things we need to talk about for a moment. This is a study from the week that they released ChatGPT 4.0 in March of 2023. It's from OpenAI researchers and also the University of Pennsylvania, which is doing a lot of interesting work in this space. And they looked at large language models trying to determine the impact on the labor market. And there's two graphs in here that I think are pretty amazing. This is the first one. This takes a look at a bunch of tests that we almost universally suggest are pretty good tests for assessing where you're at in things. It includes the Uniform Bar Exam, the LSAT, several advanced placement tests, the Medical Knowledge Self-Assessment Program. It even includes a couple of coding tests and also an introductory, certified, and advanced sommelier test. There is no tongue to GPT interface at this point, which means it's just using knowledge it's gained by surfing the internet, looking for data about, well, anything, and it picked up on wine. GPT 3.5 is late November 2022. GPT 4 with no vision was available in March 2023. ChatGPT 4 with vision was available to all of us in, I think it was September 2023, but they also tested it at the time. And all that means is that instead of typing the questions in, it just uploaded a PDF and it read the PDF for you. If you look down at 3.5, it passed many of the tests. Some of them it did miserably on. When you go to GPT-4, it passed almost all the tests and increased scores when it could. And finally, with vision, it passed almost all the tests at an advanced level. Interestingly enough, there were two tests it couldn't pass. And this one blows my mind a little bit. The AP Language and Composition test and the AP Literature and Composition test. And considering how much energy and oxygen goes to the writing part of ChatGPT and all these functional large language models, it's interesting to me that it wasn't able to pass those tests under any condition. And I also note too that it passed the sommelier test, at least the basic introductory sommelier test, at a 92%, which means it can now recommend wine to you. And is it any wonder that people are doing things like talking to it about what is in their refrigerator and pantry and having it come up with dinner to some success, because it doesn't have to directly understand that. It can just process all the information that's been put on the internet to this point. And when it comes to jobs, the term you tend to hear in a lot of the research is exposed. Jobs are exposed to ChatGPT, and it's like tools. And the list here is interesting to me. Survey researchers, public relations specialists, mathematicians, blockchain engineers, correspondence clerks, court reporters. I can understand some of those. I don't really get animal scientists, but apparently that particular group of experts is exposed to this technology as well. And one of the things that you need to know is that it's sitting in everyone's pocket right now, whether we let it in the front door or not. So in a lot of ways, when we talk about, well, maybe we don't need to deal with this yet because there's no ChatGPT availability on campus, at least directly by a university funded initiative, well, it doesn't matter because it's everywhere outside of our boundaries. This is Google Docs that has a friendly button you can turn on called Help Me Write. Help Me Write can also mean write it for me if you want. It's right there. This is Microsoft Copilot, which used to be known as Bing AI. Now it's Microsoft Copilot. It is free. You don't have to be logged in anymore to access it or access GPT-4, the advanced model, for free. Here it is doing my World War I example. This is Canva, which is used by 100 million people around the world and at least millions of educators and students, if not tens of millions. They have a button now called Magic Write, where you just press a button. There it says Magic Write, and I ask it to create a 5-paragraph essay on why teachers should not fear AI. It generates that. That's all the green text there. I press another button, it will turn it into a presentation. This is not an award-winning presentation, but I'd be willing to bet for those teachers and professors in the room, last time you gave a presentation assignment, some of them looked like this, even if it's not best practices in presentation. This is Microsoft Copilot on your phone. Again, you don't have to be logged in anymore. You can even talk to it back and forth. And then probably the one that's most student-facing K through higher education, Snapchat has its own AI now, where you can pay $3 a month and get access to its advanced model, but its free model will do everything I've demonstrated to you today as part of this process. And the question was asked earlier about the notion of local models, one that doesn't require the cloud. This is some high-end nerd stuff. So it's not necessarily universally available, but this is a Microsoft model called Pi 2 that I downloaded and accessed using something called LM Studio. And I had to have a decently girthy computer to do this. My home computer is like this. It was able to recreate output with a model that was less than 8 gigabytes. And for the nerds in the room, you know what I mean by that. But for a moment, imagine the world's knowledge is at your fingertips, but something that will fit on a flash drive. A cheap flash drive, I might add, is suddenly available to you without even access to the internet. And by the way, one of the reasons why people are doing this is because they want access to models that don't censor them, right? From anything from doing dangerous things to having a naughty chat, if you will, back and forth with a computer. These models have no rules implied, and that they're universally downloadable now. And by the way, so I'm in distance learning. I have been for 18 years. And a lot of the strategies that good distance learning has utilized over the last 10 years is suddenly called into question. This is college tools. It's available for $9.99 a month, less than $5 if you can get your friends to sign up for it. So you get a sense of where this is going to go. All you need to do to answer a multiple choice question on a screen is load college tools into Google, right click, say, answer this for me, and it will use the large language model to answer the multiple choice question for you. It's also true of extended text. So in other words, ChatGPT, you don't even have to flip screens now. You can simply right click and generate text inside of a course. And then I don't think I need to say this, but I'm going to anyways. The McKinsey Global Institute, which is not known for its panicked rhetoric, said with generative AI added to the picture, 30% of working hours could be automated by 2030. And then, of course, in the last 72 hours, Davos was mentioned earlier, but the IMF released a report that says that 40% of global employment could be disrupted by AI. A lot of commentators read that as 40% of jobs will be not impacted, but eliminated with AI. That's not what the report says. That's why headlines are sometimes bad. But in this particular case, 40% of jobs will be impacted some way by AI in the relatively near future. If you dig down in the statistics, 20% of the jobs will be positively impacted by AI, 20% of the jobs will be negatively impacted by AI, which is different than 40% of jobs will be eliminated with AI, but still the panic is out there. And I would say the other takeaway from this particular piece of my presentation today is ignore at your peril. That you can put your head in the sand about this, but really we need to adjust to this because it's happening whether we like it or not. And I'll be clear, I think there's a lot of scary things about this technology too, but to ignore it or wait for someone else to make the decisions for us will only negatively impact what we're producing in our institutions because we have to grasp a hold.